Good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world. My name is Doug Brunke. I'm the founder and CEO of Global Chamber, daily inspired by Jim Huang, who is here. He is a global icon with global real estate and investment. He's got his fingers in so many different activities all over the world. Have an exciting program here for you today talking about data centers. We'll introduce Paul Charles here in a moment, but I'd like to first go to Jim Huang. Jim, what's going on in your world? There's always 100 things going on. It's always exciting to hear what you're doing and also inspiring. What would you like to kick off with today?
Thank you, Doug. And Paul was just kind of saying before everything got started, when I always say the personal computer came out, then the big revolutionary internet, right? And then people having websites. And I remember it was fiber, right? Back then, everyone was like, we need fiber. We can't do fiber, fiber. And then the dot-com blew up. Fiber was not a great word anymore. But then everyone started building as AI started taking off data center, data center. And Doug, with your vision and with a global chamber, putting it all together in real estate, it really said everyone kept on asking, we need more data centers. We need more data centers. Where can we find it? And then it was always the discussion of water, power, what is it? So I'm excited to hear what Paul and talking and sharing what AI. And boy, Paul, you can even tell me if I'm wrong or not. People are telling me they're trying to build data centers in space because it's cool and I don't know, and solar energy from the sun. But I'm going to learn from you. But Doug, everyone, this is an exciting topic. I don't think it's slowing down. It is going to change, and who knows where the future of this is going to be. But Doug, back to you. This is the future right here.
Jim has inspired us to recognize that this triangle between business, economic development, and real estate is so vital. And Global Chamber has a unique corner of the world inside that triangle where deals get done. And so there's an unbelievable amount of activity and deals going on right now. Paul has already alluded to that prior to the recording. I do want to mention about Paul because he is a special and unique person, very much knowledgeable about what's going on with AI and technology. And then he has the knowledge to drive it all the way back to critical minerals. And why I mention that is, for instance, he's done projects and research projects on lithium and sourcing it and the supply chain for it. So when you think about AI, you think about certainly, hey, let's use Claude today and ask a question. But what all the way back we think about, there's semiconductors required and there's data centers required and there's a massive amounts of data centers and there's all the issues related to that, including power, which by the way, Paul Charles is up on all of that. And then coming back like early on to semiconductors and creating those, you need critical minerals and the dynamics of that, the geopolitics of it, the sourcing of it, the mining of it, the processing of it, all of it Paul knows. And so he's a unique capabilities in his mind. I can't imagine what goes through his mind and when he goes to sleep every night. There's so many things going on there from end to end. And somebody, I think it might have been yesterday, was asking me about Paul, and it's like, wow, this guy sounds amazing. And I said, yeah, and he's been to CES for over 30 years. And the response by the person was, oh, he must be bored by it by now. Paul, you're not bored by it. You were so enthusiastic visiting and spending days looking at all the different technologies. And he presented at Global Chamber from all of the things he saw, a top 10, here's what I saw at CES. So I think that goes to Paul. He is not bored by life. He is not bored by the supply chain that I prefaced here. He's definitely not bored by data centers because it's exploding in a good way. And that's what we're talking about today. Paul, without further ado, hopefully I didn't make any mistakes in my introduction. Full respect. Please go ahead and share your knowledge, and we look forward to learning from you today.
Thank you so much, excuse me, for that introduction, Doug, and also James for your insights as well too. It truly is unprecedented times to say the least. And first of all, thank you for everyone that's joining around the world. I'm still amazed. 190, excuse me, 195 countries or more that Global Chamber's involved with, and 605 chapters, or has it continued to grow?
It's 605 plus, we say.
All right, there we go. Well, artificial intelligence is driving one of the largest infrastructure buildouts in human history. Think about that for a moment. Around the world, governments, utilities, developers, investors, and technology companies are all trying to answer the same question. How do we bring AI compute online faster? That's really what I'd like to talk today and really give some more details behind this. Over the next few minutes, I'll share what I'm seeing in the marketplace, the infrastructure challenges that are slowing development, and how we're addressing those challenges through the full stack data center platform. And then toward the end, I'll introduce a new offshore AI infrastructure approach that we really believe opens an entirely new category of deployment opportunities. What we're seeing today is unlike anything we've seen before. The demand for AI infrastructure is accelerating around the world. While AI is often viewed as a technology story, it's increasingly becoming an energy storage. Today, there's more than 10,000 data centers worldwide, with over 5,300 located in the United States alone. And according to current projections, the US data centers will consume approximately 9% of all US electricity. The stats say by the end of the decade, but the latest information I got literally pulls it back in the next 2 to potentially 3 years. But the bigger story isn't just the national projection on this; it's where the demand is concentrated. Just 15 states account for approximately 80% of the nation's data center load. In Northern Virginia, data centers already consume more than one quarter of the state's electricity, over 25%. And in Ireland, the data centers currently account for approximately 21% of the country's electricity demand, and the projections have it approaching over 30% over the next couple to few years. Think about that. Over close to a third of all the power in Ireland goes to power data centers. Those numbers help explain why AI infrastructure is no longer simply a technology discussion. It's becoming truly an energy discussion, an infrastructure discussion, and increasingly a public policy discussion. And that brings us to our next challenge. But truly, there's another side to this story as well, too. As AI infrastructure expands, we're also seeing increasingly pushback from communities. Across the United States, well over 100 local jurisdictions are tracking, considering, or taking action related to new data center development. Why? Because communities are asking very reasonable questions. The first concern is power. Can the electric grid support these, excuse me, support these facilities without affecting homes, businesses, or electric reliability? The second concern is water. Many people still think modern AI data centers consume enormous amounts of water. And in some regions, water availability has become just as important as power availability. And the third concern is the community itself: the land use, the traffic, the noise, the environmental impacts, economic benefits, quality of life. These aren't just obstacles to ignore. They're truly legitimate questions that deserve thoughtful answers. So the question isn't simply how do we build faster? It's how do we build smarter? The next several slides are going to show us how we're approaching these different challenges. Most people are familiar with Moore's Law. For decades, Moore's Law describes really how computing performance continues to improve. But today, I believe we're entering a totally different new era, one that I call grid law. Today, the pace of AI development is increasingly determined by infrastructure, and really not these processors. You can have all the GPUs, which is a graphic processing unit, which is the next upgrade from a CPU. You can have financing. You can have customers ready to go. But if you don't have electricity or transmission or cooling or supporting infrastructure, those GPUs never get turned on. Power has become one of the defining constraints on AI development. And that's changing how developers, how utilities, investors, and governments think about AI infrastructure. It's no longer just a technology discussion, it's now an infrastructure discussion. So, how do we address all those challenges? That question led us to develop the full stack data centers platform. Instead of treating every discipline as a separate project, really kind of the siloed approach, right? We coordinate them as one integrated delivery model. Think about everything that has to happen. You need a site, you need utility coordination, power generation, energy storage, construction, cooling, networking, AI compute, commissioning, operations. Each of those pieces already exist. The problem is they're usually managed independently. Every handoff introduces delays. Every delay costs time. And in today's AI market, time is becoming one of the most valuable assets. Our objective is straightforward. We reduce deployment complexity, improve coordination, reduce project risk, and accelerate what we call speed to compute. Depending on power availability, our target is to deliver initial operational AI compute about 8 to 12 months after a site is shovel ready. In other words, you're ready to push dirt. Or a little different situation as I'll explain at the end of this presentation. Because ultimately, customers aren't buying buildings, they're buying operational AI compute. And the organizations that can deliver compute capacity first will have a significant competitive advantage. Now, one of the biggest community concerns we talked about earlier, and now we're going to talk about one of the biggest community concerns that we talked about earlier, which is water. So let's get into that and really kind of see what that situation is. Water truly is an important concern, but it's also an area where AI infrastructure is changing very quickly. Many people still assume that all AI data centers consume enormous amounts of water. The reality is it really depends entirely on the cooling architecture. Traditional evaporative cooling systems can consume hundreds of thousands of gallons of water every day for a 50 megawatt AI facility. But modern direct-to-chip cooling technology is very different. These systems operate on what's called a closed-loop cooling system. Water is primarily used during the initial system fill and then continuously recirculated, kind of like your radiator in your car if you have an internal combustion engine. When combined with dry heat rejection, ongoing water consumption can be reduced dramatically, and in some cases, we can approach nearly zero daily water usage. That's why for the full stack program, we've standardized on direct-to-chip liquid cooling. It supports today's high-density AI processors while also reducing water consumption, which is particularly important in areas where water availability is already a great concern. So as AI infrastructure continues to grow, we believe cooling technology will play an increasingly important role in balancing performance, sustainability, and community acceptance. Now let's go back briefly to the first concern that we discussed earlier, power. Communities are asking important questions. Will AI increase electricity costs? Will it reduce grid reliability? Will it place additional pressure on existing utility systems? Once again, those are truly concerns that should be addressed and are legitimate. Our view is that AI infrastructure doesn't have to rely entirely on existing community utility capacity. Instead, we take this hybrid approach. We utilize available grid capacity where practical, that's called front of the meter, and then we integrate that with behind the meter or self-generation. And then we add battery energy storage, and we use intelligent microgrid controllers to optimize how those resources really work together. The objective is to reduce pressure on the local grid, to improve reliability and help protect existing ratepayers, while still delivering the power needed for AI infrastructure. And in some cases, there's another opportunity. If the on-site generation system is sized larger than really what these AI facilities are going to need, then and if the local utility supports it, that excess electricity can be exported back into the grid. That can provide additional capacity for the surrounding community, improve overall grid resilience, and potentially help reduce pressure on future electricity costs. Do keep in mind, though, that every project is different, but the key idea is this: power infrastructure should be planned before AI compute is deployed, not after. When you start with the right power strategy, you create better outcomes for the developer, the utility, as well as for the community. Once the power strategy is in place, the next challenge becomes deployment. Traditional AI data center projects often take 3 to 5 years before AI compute becomes operational. The AI market simply isn't moving at that pace. So instead of designing every project from scratch, we've designed the deployment platform. Our typical AI deployment module is approximately 140,000 square feet. It's designed to support 50 megawatts of AI compute today, and we've got a roadmap towards 100 megawatts as rack densities continue to increase. Under the right project conditions, the shell can be erected in approximately 3.5 months, allowing the overall project to target initial AI compute in that 8 to 12 month time once we start to move forward on pushing dirt or construction. This is proven construction technology. Our strategic construction partner has already deployed more than 3 million square feet of data center infrastructure using this construction approach. More than 12,000 of these structures have already been built in over 100 countries worldwide. Companies like Tesla, SpaceX, Meta, and Blue Origin have all used this technology to really accelerate their major projects. These are not temporary buildings, however, they can be. Typically, these are permanent engineered structures. They're Category 5 hurricane rated for 200-mile-an-hour winds. They're engineered for seismic performance, and they're also airtight for thermal efficiency and purpose-built for high-density AI infrastructure. The goal isn't simply to construct a building faster, it's to create a permanent AI infrastructure platform that gets customers to operational compute much sooner. And once the building is complete, that's when the AI factory comes to life. So this is where the full stack platform really comes together. What you're looking at isn't simply a data center, it's a standardized AI factory. Inside this environment, you're going to see factory direct AI racks, power, cooling, networking, and supporting infrastructure. All are deployed in one coordinated system. Instead of assembling thousands of individual components out in the field where you really don't have control, completed AI racks and the supporting infrastructure are delivered into a standardized environment designed for rapid deployment. The objective is simple: reduce deployment complexity, accelerate speed to compute, and provide a repeatable platform that can be replicated across an entire AI campus. And that's becoming increasingly important because the economics of AI favor organizations that can bring compute capacity online first. Ultimately, our customers aren't buying these buildings, they're really buying AI compute capacity. And our objective is to help them put that capacity and that compute into operation as quickly as possible. So far, everything I've shown you assumes we're deploying on land, but over this past year, we've been asking a different question. What if the infrastructure already exists? Why start from scratch if the infrastructure is already in place? That led us to create the Offshore AI Infrastructure Platform. Working alongside our partner, Fenner Infrastructure, we're repurposing existing offshore oil and gas platforms into AI compute capacity. Think about what's already there: existing offshore platforms, existing power generation, existing subsea fiber, established permitting pathways, and decades of offshore operational expense. Instead of spending years building all of that infrastructure from the ground up, we're giving existing infrastructure a new purpose in the AI economy. Fenner provides the offshore infrastructure, existing power assets and offshore operational expertise. Full stack delivers that AI infrastructure architecture, power conditioning systems, energy storage, factory direct compute, and development. Together, we're transforming this existing power into AI compute capacity. That's exactly what power to compute really means. This isn't just a vision for that distant future. It's underway today. We're beginning in the United States, where we've already identified more than 40 offshore platforms, and that's after we looked at over 300 different sites as well too. And it's 3 different areas that we'll be moving forward with on the East Coast, West Coast, as well as the Gulf. Many of these platforms already have 25 megawatts or more. Some are actually up to 200 megawatts of power that's existing on these platforms already. This isn't just an opportunity in the US. This same approach is going to be applied on a global basis. There are thousands of existing offshore and industrial energy assets that may be repurposed for this AI economy. And keep in mind, these are decommissioned platforms or those that are in the process of being decommissioned. Our strategy is to demonstrate the model first in the US, and then we're going to truly go on a global basis. And this is going to bring new life to existing infrastructure while accelerating that AI compute deployment. And that's how I see the next generation of AI infrastructure evolving. Artificial intelligence is driving one of the largest infrastructure build outs in human history. The challenge isn't simply building more data centers, it's delivering AI compute faster while addressing power, water, and community concerns. We believe the future of AI infrastructure will be standardized, integrated, rapidly deployable, and increasingly powered by innovative approaches like the ones I've shared with you today. Thanks very much for your time today, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak today with this global audience, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Doug, back to you.
My head is blown. Unbelievable. Amazing. What do you think, Jim? Because you're familiar with this market.
I am actually. If you don't mind, I'd like to ask a quick question. Since I am traveling and it is a global chamber,
Yeah.
I know it's in the U.S. Can you tell us in the States where's the highest concentration of where they're building? And then the same question kind of internationally. And I know internationally there's many countries, not just
Yep.
states, maybe a top 5, so we can have an idea for all of us here globally. Where is it? Where are they going?
Yeah, and it's really interesting because if you look at the global approach, about half the data centers are located in the U.S. And the greatest number of new data centers being proposed is in the U.S. as well, starting in that Virginia corridor. But what you're seeing is massive expansion in areas that have power in the U.S. and also have a workable environment. Texas is an area that is really second behind the Virginia corridor area, and I think it's going to surpass that as well. Some areas throughout the U.S., massive pushback, moratoria that's really been put into place. And frankly, a lot of that is simply because they don't really understand the technologies and what can be done if you really have a community first approach to this as well. So once again, we need these data centers all over the world. The U.S. right now is the leader in AI compute technology. China is quickly on the heels of the U.S. on this, and they are expanding very, very quickly as well too. The core technologies that we really need in order to expand this AI infrastructure are in the U.S. as well as in Taiwan are the 2 primary areas. If you take a step back beyond the U.S. and China, Europe is also moving forward as well too, and also the Middle East. Last week I was at a conference called Fast Markets, and we had about 1,000 people from all over the world. I had a chance to speak to some folks that were from the Middle East, Neom in particular. The demand and the need in the Middle East is absolutely massive. And to give a little context in that, in the last 18 months, they've deployed 18 gigawatts of battery energy storage just in this region here. And a lot of that will be used in order to help really back and help promote the ability of AI compute. So this is a global market. There's no doubt about it. US is leading this on this. China's quickly behind on this. Europe's coming online, and then other places in Europe as well as the Middle East.
Thank you, Paul.
No problem.
Um, Taking a step back, then, where do you see the business opportunities for folks that are around the peripheral or maybe in different parts of it? There's so many, aren't there?
There absolutely are on this, and some interesting statistics that I'd like to share on this. As data centers are going into certain areas, we're really creating these technology hubs. The latest statistics that I've seen is that for every employment that occurs in a data center, and frankly, there's not a lot, but there's 6 additional local jobs that are created. And if you create these hubs, it actually gets expanded out beyond that 1-to-6 ratio as well too. So you think about all the infrastructure, all the support that's necessary on this. It really affects so many different areas. On the educational side, think about this. This is a whole new area of which our schooling system typically has not really prepared the workforce on this. And so anybody that's involved in training, this is an incredible opportunity to be able to get in and help to train the next workforce that will be running these AI factories around the world on this as well, supporting infrastructure as well. The other opportunity I really think that's important is to be well educated. Wherever you're at in the world, get a hold of your locally elected or appointed officials and make sure that they understand this. And if not, have them reach out to groups that actually can educate this. I'm a co-chair of a committee that is with a group called NatBat. It's the International Battery Association. And the committee or the community that I'm the co-chair of helps to educate both the community as well as the industry on battery storage as well as AI on a global basis. So that's one of the things that we actually do is we help to educate those that are making the decisions about whether or not to allow AI data centers and supporting infrastructure into their area. This is going to happen. It is happening. You want to have good knowledge and you want to be able to have that support on this. One other stat I'd like to throw out is that Virginia area, over half of the local community budgets are currently being paid by taxes off these AI data centers. So you think about that, community parks, the fire, first responders on this, libraries, half their budgets currently are being paid because they have allowed and they support AI data centers in their area.
The converse of that is that there's, as you alluded to, there's concern, environmental concern, which I quite honestly don't understand. I've done an initial search and I still don't understand what it is. What's the complaint? It seems innocuous compared to, I'm from the chemical industry, and so I don't really get it. Is there something real there? What is the issue is there a real issue behind all this?
Absolutely. And keep in mind that we're in this transition period. The data centers that we grew up on used CPU, central processing units. And frankly, the power draw on that was 1/10 the size of what we have today. And that will again double, frankly, in terms of the power usage per rack by the end of this year. Under the old system, you were able to use cooling systems that literally were evaporating cooling systems. And with that, literally hundreds of thousands or even millions of gallons a day of water were and are being used. This is a new realm. This is a new approach with this closed loop system. Once again, you fill it up like your radiator and it just runs on this. And yes, you top it off annually, but it's a very, very small amount of water. So the water concerns really have been real. absolutely on that. But moving forward, if you use a closed loop system, you're filling it up once and then you're topping it off for the next many years on that. So water has really been one of the big concerns. The other is on the power aspect of this. In the good old days, like a few years ago, the way it worked is that data centers would go to a location and it'd say, "Please bring the power to me," with grid. That is totally 180 degree changed on that. They go to where the power is located with this. And what you're seeing in some areas is that power rates are going up. And one of the concerns on that is because the local data centers are pulling a lot of the power. But if you take that hybrid approach, use what kind of power is available in excess with the grid, but build your own power. And there's starting to be a much greater momentum behind that. There's initiatives that are being signed in the US that hyperscalers are saying, okay, we will take responsibility on this. We'll build our own power. And then that next step, as I alluded to earlier, is to be able to take that excess power and put it back into the community to actually give additional resources there. And a couple of the things where people don't really necessarily think about is how we get that power. You've got ability to connect into the grid typically, but there's never enough power, it seems like, on that. So one way in which power is being provided is by bringing these portable gensets. In other words, this is a turbine engine off an airplane that's put on the back of a truck or a lorry. And then there's a generator, and that turbine turns the generator and power is created. You can create 25 to 35 megawatts of power on the back of a single truck that's been deployed to this area on that. So if you put 3 of those, you've got enough power for a 100 megawatt data center. But that relies upon natural gas, and that can be a great bridge technology until a more permanent way of creating power is provided. But those gensets can create noise. And there's other concerns associated with this. But at the end of the day, I would really encourage engagement as soon as possible, not waiting, to the last second and springing it upon, locals and say, hey, can I do this or not? So engage with the community and educate them and help them understand the benefits associated with this.
Okay. So you touched on things like potential noise and certainly the energy usage. What I hear, and I'm really actually mainly talking about my wife, and then she's directed me to others that are things like microplastics and black things in the water. And the water part of it, I guess the potential use of water could lower the water table and create issues with the water system. But there's no amount of chemicals that are coming out of the data center, right? It's other issues related to water usage or energy usage that's really an environmental issue. Is that correct? And by the way, Matthew, I see your question. If you'd like to ask that question, you'll be up next.
Yeah, Doug, to answer your question on this, in terms of water, once again, this is like filling up your, living in Scottsdale for many years. It's like filling up your pool. You fill it up and then you kind of keep it topped off on that. So you're not putting water back into the system.
Okay.
So in terms of water usage, yeah, old school is you using a swamp cooler, evaporative cooling technology. That is not, you can't use that because the amount of cooling that you need to have simply can't be done with the old school on that. And that's why this closed loop system is really the right way to do the cooling approach on that. And with the power, create your own power and create excess power and deliver that back into the system. But in terms of creating, nano or micro particles on this, that's not what data centers do. They simply don't contribute that back into the system. The exception on that is if you are running gen sets and if you're burning natural gas, yes, you're going to be able to have exhaust that's going to go into the air. But typically before that's allowed, an air study is actually required in many areas around the US as well.
Sounds good. Thank you. Matthew, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question, or we could ask it as well?
Yeah, it is. My question was more kind of people related. My CEO was at a conference in Cannes called Data Cloud a couple of weeks ago, which I think is one of the big international data center conferences. And the general consensus that he got was that what's really slowing things down is actually a talent shortage. And I just wanted to know whether you were experiencing that in the States, or maybe you're a maturer market and therefore the talent that's needed to deliver some of these projects already exists.
Great question on that. Number one issue is power, period. Okay. That is really the main constraint on a global basis with that. Workforce is absolutely a part of that, but you can also do these training initiatives very quickly with this. And keep in mind, these are new systems. There is no standardization on this, and so a lot of this is bespoke, and it's becoming a new area of which subject matter expertise is highly desired on this. Definitely would encourage working with your local tech schools, your junior colleges, as well as your universities, and creating this cooperative environment with this. So once again, there's not that many people that actually get employed in these data centers on that relative to a manufacturing environment. But it's that additional infrastructure and support system, that 1-to-6 ratio and greater, that's really creating opportunities for a real significant impact to a community on this.
Thanks for your question, Matthew. Matthew is with Auxilium. He's based in Dubai, and they do handle talent management as part of their cross-border services. Thank you, Matthew. Donald, did you have a question?
Yeah, thanks, Paul, for this program you got going here today. So I have a couple questions actually concerning the water issue. I still see a lot of data centers going up in areas where there's a water situation. So I'm kind of wondering, are you saying the offshore is all new? Because is that what's going on here? And are you going to the offshore due to the fact that you have ocean water, a lot more areas to use it? And why are not most of the data centers going up closer to ocean areas?
Yeah, in terms of the water usage, once again, the technology for cooling is such that it's a closed loop system. You fill up your system once, and then it literally recycles through. There is a little bit of topping off that occurs, but it's minimal to say the least. It's the equivalent of a few homes if you've properly got that architected. With these offshore opportunities, it's really a matter of a few different things that we've gone to this. Existing power. They've got 25 to 200 megawatts of existing power on these platforms, and these are being decommissioned. So why not utilize that existing infrastructure? They also have fiber that goes to the shore with very low latency in many of these situations on this. So those two things are quite important. One of the technologies that we're looking at for the offshore data centers is, obviously you've got a lot of cold water there. And so one of the technologies we're looking at is actually taking the seawater up. And once again, this isn't a closed, this is an environment that we would be pumping the water out of the ocean, cooling the racks on this, and it never touches the racks. It's through conductivity essentially with this, and then putting the water back into the ocean. So to have a cooling capability there is pretty remarkable. So that's the technology that we absolutely are looking at deploying for the offshore usage. Onshore, once again, you don't have to have much water. You can fill this up. In an ideal environment, you have these radiator systems that literally are able to disperse the heat. Where water is available, the program that we typically use has only about 20% usage compared to the 100% that they had been using in the past as well. So if you do have water, great. You utilize that in a cooling environment. If not, you don't have to use the water other than an initial fill.
Okay, 'kay, that makes a little bit more sense to me because it's just recycling the same water and topping it off instead of a continuous flow. So then
Exactly.
it comes back to the training and everything also because when we start talking about having people trained properly, immediately I went back to the days of the 80s and 90s when we were training welders and
Right.
everything and all these schools out there for the offshore rigs and so forth. So that was another thing I was worried about. And so I'm thinking that that may be something to start pushing again and so
Yeah,
forth.
think about this for a moment here as well too. Is that the approach that the full stack takes is to create a templated approach for the manufacturing of the things that need to be deployed, and do that in a factory environment. Do that in a situation in which you can use robotics. So, for instance, on these AI racks that go inside our standardized modules with this, all that compute is done in a factory in the US or in Taiwan currently. And so once it leaves a factory, literally we are able just to roll this into an enclosed environment and connect it up with quick disconnects and connection devices. And so the old way of actually fabricating stuff on site, you don't want to do that. It's the equivalent of how they used to install battery systems. They would have these containers and they would take the battery components out there and do that in the field. Well, do you want to do that, or do you want to have it come out of a factory where there's quality control, things are certified at a system level, and then deployed into the field? And that's exactly what we really endorse and encourage, that because you control your quality, and the infield applications can go very, very quickly on that. Now, running of these is a different environment with that. And also the data that's being extracted from this really will allow for new opportunities moving forward. The more data you can get out of how these AI factories are actually running, the more efficient they can be run with power usage. Another thing I'll explain here is some of these AI data centers have the ability to run for 4, 6, and 8 hours at a time, totally on batteries. And there's a few reasons for that. Is that first and foremost, these AI factories is what we call them. They have to be up either 4 or 5 nines, and what that means is 99.999%. So 5 nines. With that, you cannot be down, and that's why these batteries are so important. If there is a power issue, the batteries immediately kick in and start to power this. The old school is they'd run 4 to 8 minutes, and then diesel generators would kick in. The new approach is to have a lot more batteries, and to also have as additional backup generators that run off natural gas or renewable natural gas, or other ways that you can create electricity. The ability to incorporate renewable energy is also very, very key to this. The opportunity to create electrons with solar has got to the point where it is actually a cost advantage to be able to create power utilizing solar. Not every AI factory will have sufficient land for that, but many do. And it also helps to augment other ways of creating electricity. We believe in this layered approach for power generation, as well as on the battery side as well too.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
No problem.
We're coming to the end of the program. Just so many different opportunities here, Jim. Just, just it's mind blowing. Are you investing in this area, and are there areas of investment that you're suggesting to people, or what? And also, what are you learning here today?
Oh, I've learned so much. This is, this we need Paul to get you back in a series or a panel. But for us in real estate, especially commercial, finding land over and over, it's Texas, this, certain states, right?
Yep.
Maybe less, maybe bureaucratic, more friendly. Uh, there was a talk where in certain cities, right, some of the offices were empty to turn them into, but then it was power and certain things. Could you share with everyone, let's say on at the real estate angle, where the build, how is it in open fields, like I heard in Texas, and they use solar. Where do you see the main building and where the future is? Where's the puck going to be?
Yeah, no, great question on this. And, and keep in mind, there's different levels of compute capability on this. We've mainly been talking about some of these larger campuses where you'll have dozens and dozens of buildings. But let me talk briefly about the other aspect of that. These are micro data centers where literally we can deploy a single 20-foot or 40-foot shipping container and provide 2 megawatts of power. I was on a call yesterday with a group that has over 20 sites just in a metro area in Arizona. And so what we'll be doing there is deploying smaller units in areas in which there are neighbors, but these are very much contained and allows for usage, not necessarily by large hyperscalers, but by businesses that actually want to be able to use compute, that want to be able to use AI. So from a real estate perspective, if you have powered land is the term that we use on this, you have something of value on this. And what I mean by that is typically 5 megawatts of power or more. You should give me a call, okay, and I can refer you on, or we can perhaps help to facilitate compute on that particular area. So powered land, look for that all over the world. The other element is obviously we need to have some fiber connectivity with that and some level of water. And as we've learned today, we don't necessarily need that much, but powered land has incredible value. If it's out in a rural area, that can be even more advantageous because oftentimes you may have very few neighbors that would have concerns about this, and that's one of the reasons offshore is so appealing. The neighbors out there don't really care, okay, and it's already had an infrastructure that's been there for decades. But on land, look for powered land capabilities with fiber, and you may have something that is worth more than what you think.
Paul, I'd love to catch up later because I was working when it was the digital billboards to the wireless that they bought. Maybe this is the next new thing, putting a storage AI center on your something. So I'll be
Yes.
in touch, Paul.
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't have to be these massive locations. I live here in Utah, and a couple months ago, a 40,000 acre, yes, 40,000 acre data center was announced on this, 9 gigawatts, largest in the world. It doesn't have to be that. It can literally be a small parcel of land that's got an extra 5 megawatts of power that's not being utilized. We can put a few containers on that and actually do something with it.
Sounds good. And that was why I got you connected to those folks putting the data center in Tucson and the
Yep.
issues that they have with the local governments. So,
Absolutely. Just one final comment on this. Please, if you're involved in any aspect of this, get educated. And if you're a developer, if you're involved with any of the deployment, engage early. Okay. So many of these challenges that we see in these moratoria, really, this can be alleviated if people really understand the technologies and what's available today, not old school, not necessarily what you see off the internet or what you read online on this. We can do this responsibly. We need to do this responsibly, and we do want to be able to really show the world of how the internet can be used. This is kind of the realization of what we started 25 years ago.
brilliant. Thank you for those closing comments. Just in the remaining 3 minutes or so, does anybody have any comments that they'd like to make?
I think
Anybody in the
David does.
audience?
I would like to ask a question.
Oh yeah.
What is the cost of one of your full stack data centers? Is it 100 million? And number two, how does it finance? And number three, is full stack data your company a public company that we can invest in and buy shares on the open market?
Great question on this. I hope you're sitting down because the capital expense for AI compute is massive, and I'm using round numbers here, please. Okay, but a 50 megawatt compute AI data center module like what we have here, 140,000 square feet, between 1.5 and 2 billion US. Half that money is the GPUs. Approximately 24,000 GPUs go in a single module, as I've just described on this. Now, keep in mind, by the end of the year, we'll have the double compute capacity. It's going to go from 50, we have a roadmap going to 100 megawatts of compute. And when we talk about that, that's the power necessary in order to actually enable the compute capability. Full Stack is currently a privately owned entity on this. We've spent the last year developing this and really creating a global partnership of companies that our largest partner on this is an AI manufacturer that's been around for 80 years, and they're $80 billion in revenue on a global basis, and they're fully vertically integrated. They make the printed circuit board all the way through to the servers and racks. And so these are the types of strategic partners that we have, both large as well as small companies. And this is a global platform that we're moving forward with. So, if there's opportunities out there with AI developers or countries or situations in which you have interest or want to deploy, please get a hold of me, and I would love to be able to chat with you about how we can help enable this in a responsible way.
Brilliant. Thank you, David. David, did that answer your questions?
Answers most of the question. Let me ask you a professional question. I am a real estate broker.
Yep.
Based on what I've seen of artificial intelligence and data centers, my profession will be obsolete in about 3 to 5 years. Is that a correct assumption?
You know what? People said that 25 years ago. Doug and I remember that. Okay. And you may remember that as well, too. What AI is, it's an incredible tool that continues to evolve. I use AI in so many aspects of my business, and essentially it allows me to utilize my time better. There are areas in which it will have a negative effect, such as entry-level programming or coding for software. AI can do an amazing job with that. There's other areas in which there will be a negative effect, but listen, this is a new tool. Get a clear understanding of this, but the human touch and the human interaction is absolutely still needed. People think, oh, AI did that. Well, yeah, AI may have done that, but it also may have taken a couple hours to create an image or to create a document on that. Yes, it will get better, and the massive leaps that we see every 6 months now are pretty outstanding. But view this as a tool that you can use in order to provide better services to your customers and clients.
Are you planning to ever go public?
That is one of our exit strategies, yes.
At the current time, if I wanted to invest in data centers, should I approach Meta, SpaceX, or Blue Origin as a viable entities where I could invest whatever monies I have available into data centers through these public companies?
I typically do not provide investment guidance on this. Be more than happy to talk with you offline and give you some additional insights in terms of technologies that I see that are relevant and that are really enabling. I mean, look at NVIDIA, the most valuable company on the planet here. A few years ago, they were mainly known as a video, chip and card manufacturer, and now look where they've come. So it's really amazing how we can take technologies, enhance these, and move forward with them. There will be many opportunities as we are just starting to launch this AI revolution that it'll affect virtually every aspect of our lives. So keep an open mind, but also look for business principles that are really sound and actually create profits at the end of the day.
Amazing.
Thank you very much. Paul,
Great
I recommend that you give a in-person public seminar that we can all come to. There's a lot of facilities in Los Angeles that you could give a seminar. I'm willing to pay money, $100, to have you make a face-to-face presentation. So work through Doug Brunke to create the opportunities for us to meet you face-to-face.
Well, I certainly appreciate that. I've been doing a lot of this pro bono around the world. I literally have presentations for municipalities and cities. One thing we didn't really talk much about is we're also starting to work with indigenous tribes. Think about that for a moment, okay? We hope to be able to be the first to provide AI infrastructure on First Nation lands as well.
Amazing. Let's get you to LA for sure as an option. Thank you, David, for the suggestion. Jim, final comments before we make the announcement for what's up
No,
next week.
and I just say this, my mind is spinning, Paul, the opportunities, and I always say with Global Chamber, we're hearing cutting edge, getting in early, and I'd love to talk to you because we are doing with real estate, young professional groups, teaching them AI, and we definitely will share. But Doug, I would just say it's fantastic how the programs that we're putting together for Global Chamber Real Estate, right, is touching on all those aspects because he did say the magic word. He's starting to educate the cities and the states, the
Yep.
economic development group. So just want to end with that. This is fantastic how it's all tying together.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's build on that, Paul. Thank you for your knowledge and for sharing. Next week, Peter Thiel is gone to Argentina. What in the world's going on there? Well, Ricardo Vanella of Global Chamber Argentina is going to be talking about what's going on with that, what's going on in opportunities in Argentina. There's a new optimism, not just at the World Cup, but there's a optimism for business in Argentina. We have a trade mission of a leader in Argentina and a delegation coming to the US later this year with Global Chamber. We encourage you to be part of that. And next week, Ricardo Vanella, an amazing leader with Global Chamber. He's going to be giving you the inside scoop on Peter Thiel and all the things Argentina. Thanks, everybody, for taking the time today. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, all. Thanks, Paul.
Truly my pleasure. Great questions, by the way, too. That was awesome.